What did I say? Previously? Right.
Oh, we leaving Friday. You know, we have
Mm-hmm.
our birthday is coming. I got 2 days tomorrow. And I'm leaving here at 12 Friday. I can get you next week.
All right. Good night, y'all.
Good night.
I thought something.
Blessings. Blessings, blessings, blessings. Pray your day was well. This is not going to be a long night. Last week was a very fruitful conversation. We were honored with BIT Tanasia as one of our guests last week, who thought it not robbery to be very transparent with where she was or where she is. We offer you that same opportunity. It's one person's perception is another person's reality. And we may not all go through it the same. Some of us may have taken a little longer than others. But it does not change the fact of who and whose we are and how we have to deal with our journeys as they have been blessed toward us. Waiting. I found myself every now and then saying, I'm so tired of waiting. But then we have to remember that there are those who have been used as our examples throughout the years who waited much longer than what we're waiting. How about the 400 years between the old and the new? Or the children just waiting to hear from the Father?
You staying over here?
No, but you were still doing that, and the Italian was still over there. So last week, the conversation was so fruitful that we said we wanted to first make sure that there wasn't someone who had something to say, had an opinion about what we talked about. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm still here.
What number did you bring? could just bring my chair here. You don't have to drink water. I could just sit a chair right here. Since you're already there.
So waiting. We talked about last week the different types of waiting that people are going through, and the emotions and things that happen along the way. How some, fell weak, and while others, sorry guys, what am I doing? While others, hung in there for the long haul. I can't, lie to you and tell you that waiting has not found me frustrated at some points, anxious at other points, angry at some points. I'm just dealing with the different things that I was faced with while waiting for the manifestation of what was promised. And so, like I said before, there are people who are waiting for different things. Not all are spiritual. Not all are looking for a husband or a wife. Some people are just tired of waiting for other things that have been prophesied to them, whether it be money, houses, and land. There are some people who receive these types of prophecies and are yet waiting for them to be manifested. In so doing, here we are with those emotions because, God, why am I still waiting? Why am I seeing everything happen for those around me? And yet I've been faithful with all I know to do. And it seems like I'm furthest away. I'm always congratulating, but I'm never receiving. And so it leaves us, depending on our personalities, depending on our upbringing. And when I say our upbringing, like some of us have just been raised to be these like strong, while others have been made to feel less than. So your background may not be the same as others and could be a very good factor in why you have not received some of the things that you felt you should. And then we have to realize that our time is not God's time. And he reminds us, our thoughts are not his, and his ways are not ours. And so in saying that, it sounds good when you're in church around everybody else, but then when you get home to that person, that means you by yourself, you find yourself right back into that same old, slump. You really didn't leave it at the altar as you said you would, or you really did not believe. I know for me, I am guilty of not receiving probably in the time I wanted to because I didn't believe. I said what was told to me to say because I was being obedient and I didn't want to seem rebellious or stubborn. And so, but I didn't, in my heart of heart, believes it was, I was like, oh yeah, because so many times things have been said and didn't come to pass. So sometimes you feel like, oh, this is just another one. And I say every now and then, I don't want another prophecy. I just want ones that have already been spoken to be manifested. Something that lets me know, hey, God, as I see you doing for others, I know you haven't forgotten about me. I know that sometimes the things that we do that cause us to fall astray or out of the path, a ways, we may come back, but that affected when we could receive that which was promised because we stepped out of the will of God. And so we don't know how close it was to us before we did that. We could have been, as they say most of the time, right at the brink. Your hardest time is at the brink of crossing over. And I don't know, sometimes it just seems like crossover never took place. So, hey Tika. So, waiting is oof. Consider the fact that the hardest wait ever was the one Jesus had. Like, when is this going to be over? Kind of like while some of us would have been turned around at the beginning, he still kept going. And even though he thought He never spoke aloud anything. He handled everything with such integrity, unbelievable integrity. I do not know if I could have tolerated you spitting on me, oof, whipping me, no words. Like, I just, he is just an amazing guy. That's the only way I could talk about him, because I just know I couldn't have done it. I don't even know if I would have done it, you know. So if we're going to be very transparent, there are many things that Christ endured that some of us, we just wouldn't have been able to do. And so while I'm wondering when will it happen, I have to remember how it happened, you know. So wait, how do I want to do this? This way? This way.
Y'all excuse our table. We're preparing for Valentine's Day. So there's a lot of stuff back there on the table.
So each of us wait in our own different ways. And so I was saying that, hey, Angelica, I was saying that on last week, even when we had our conversation with EIT Tanasia, and again, we thank her for her transparency. I think it sparked a whole lot of responses, and that was awesome in and of itself. But it's just God. Like, I don't want to seem like I'm murmuring and complaining, you know, but can you give me an idea how much longer this is going to be? You know, many of us tend to get weary, and it is not God's intention to kill us, but to strengthen us. And it's hard to believe sometimes when we consider what we've gone through. But the fact is, he counted you worthy enough to go through it, because he knew in the end, strength would be your portion. The reason why you're still here today is because even though you thought you wouldn't make it, you did. You have made it up until this time, even though you may not have experienced full manifestation of things that have already been said to you. The fact of the matter is, you're not where you were. You're stronger today because of where you were yesterday. And so yesterday, you didn't think you were going to make it. And here you are the next day. And we have to be mindful and thankful, say, to God for this new day, you know. So, hey, Sister Tori, so we want to find ourselves while waiting in the right position, in the right posture. And sometimes we have to realize that it's time to change it. Mm-hmm. Some of us have been in the same posture for so long that our body just doesn't know how to do anything else. Right. You know, and so you've got to do something different to let the body know, hey, the rest of me is working too. If you're always in the same position, you're only strengthening one portion of you. So you've got to learn how to change positions and posture. For some who
come on and prophesy
been laying prostrate, maybe it's time for you to get on your knees and show sign that victory is coming, you know, and that you're just not staying prostrate. Some of you who have just now gotten to your knees realize that standing up just ain't working for you.
You preached that. You remember that?
Yes. And so when we are waiting, the Bible even tells singles that we're supposed to find ourselves busy in ministry, you know, until that time comes. There are some, hi, Mama Dickens, in some instances, we are our worst enemy. We're the reason why we're not getting where we have to go, because we're trying to figure out things instead of allowing God to be God. We're trying to help him, and he didn't ask for it. Right. You know, we just need to be in the right waiting position. Mm-hmm. Be in the right waiting position. And it is not the same position for everybody. Find your position, get God's attention, and stay there. Tanasia says, I think that waiting is just God preparing us and maturing and developing us for what we pray for or what was prophesied to us. And sometimes it's hard because you feel that in the midst of the waiting that God has forgotten about you, but then you realize he really didn't forget. He's just testing your faith.
And when he's testing your faith, that's one of the most hardest times to be still and wait on God, especially. So let's talk about
Hey,
waiting.
Heidi.
Hey Heidi, when I think about when I first got my divorce and how long I had to wait, it came with I'm gonna put you down. You're scratching me. It came with so many different phases that I had to go through. I was upset. I was angry. I was mad. I couldn't understand why everybody I got with Apostle kept saying, "That ain't him, that ain't him, that ain't him." I'm like, "Oh, you just don't want me with nobody." But when we're waiting, we become frustrated and we don't want to hear nothing nobody has to say when we're saying to that person, "It's not for you," or "You need to wait on God," or "Don't go ahead. I see destruction up the road." And because we don't listen, we bump into a truck and get smashed and hit because we didn't want to wait. So while waiting can become a tedious process, if we learn how to just wait on God and not move and get in our flesh and move ahead of God, we can avoid some heartbreaks. We can avoid some disappointments. We can avoid some letdowns. If I hadn't waited for Apostle, even though I was still saved and in the church and filled with the Holy Ghost, and that flesh got out of control, one of the people that I was dating had AIDS. What if I would have slept with them? Because I didn't want to listen to what Apostle had to say. I'm just going to be real transparent tonight. What if, even though I was overseer at that time and she was Apostle and she was my best friend, so I felt like she should understand how I feel or where I am or why you don't want me with nobody. And come to find out, one of the ones that I was dating had AIDS. What if I would have went ahead and slept with him and he didn't tell me until later on? One of his friends told me and I found out. Then what? So we have to learn how, even in our frustrated state, to still wait on God and see what he's saying, even when our leader's speaking, we don't like it.
Yeah, that part.
It's hard, guys. I've been there. It's not easy. And you know what else, too, Apostle? Men smell vulnerability.
Yes, they do.
Men know when you are vulnerable, when you are lonely. They know when they just know. And they tend to cling to that part of you because they know you lonely.
Hey, Shay.
They don't want you. They just know you lonely.
I'm just saying, so waiting. Now, even though I said, I always start off with saying, because everybody goes spiritual first. They think you're talking about that husband and that wife. But there are so many things. There are people who are waiting for answered prayers. Somebody, he called out the bag?
Yes.
Some people have gotten tired along the way of waiting for it to come to pass. I've gotten a prophecy and then somebody told me again and I got it again and they say out of the mouths of two or three. And so here I am, with all this confirmation and yet I still see nothing. And again, I can't stress enough that our ways are not God's ways. And sometimes because we have been waiting so long, frustration becomes our companion. Frustration becomes our companion. Everything that we do and say is frustrated or antagonized. We want to make sure that whatever we're waiting for, even when you're on your job and you're getting mad, like I did, some years ago, where they wouldn't necessarily give me the position that I was already doing. Somebody else was making the money while I was doing all of the training and the learning. I used to get frustrated and threaten, say, I'm gonna just quit and then see what they're gonna do, but it's just not that simple at all times. When there is something specific attached to you, you must endure the whole process, not part of it, but the whole process. And in any process, there is some point when it gets to be rough and it gets to be painful and it gets to be irritating and you just wonder, like, what's the use? And you almost find yourself getting ready to walk away and then you're just stuck. I'm not walking away, but I'm not moving either. So I'm still not gaining because I'm refusing to make a decision. And we have, I'm sorry, y'all, we got a little kitten here that we house sitting right now. And so, you can't hurry God. That's the best way I could put it.
No matter how long.
No matter how. So we want to, as we go through our process, and we've been talking about this word process for a little while now, because everybody knows what they want, but nobody wants what it takes. Is that a good way to put it?
Yes.
Yeah. You want it, but again, guys, forgive our background. That's our working station. We're getting ready for Valentine's Day. But we want it now, God, and we'll worry about the process later. And God saying, no, in order for you to not just get it, but get it and keep it and maintain it, you need the process. And so there isn't anything that we buy from a store that hasn't gone through some type of process to get to where it is for you to see. There was a process before you got to see that thing that you liked. It went through something, especially when we talk about jewelry. There's a process for you to get the thing that you're looking for in that store. And so if it has to go through a set process in order to be received by you, what do you think you have to do to be received by the king? The king, the ultimate king. There's some stuff that we got to endure. There's some stuff we got to kill. There's some stuff we got to allow to fall off. There's some people we got to move away from. There are some ways we got to rid ourselves of. There's a path that we need to fall back into so that we might receive all that we're expecting. Waiting does not feel good. So even if we were considering, I'm trying not to stay so far from church, but it ain't working. When you're waiting, okay, so you already have your mate now. So now you are preparing for the wedding. And before you got that ring, you could wait. But once you got that ring on your finger, it's like, okay, so we got to do this and we got to do this. And when we're going to do this, then you mad because he can't give you a date when he want to do it. So now you're frustrated because you got a ring and you still don't have a date. And so everything comes with something. Those days of getting things free is done. God's not giving us stuff that we don't deserve anymore. He's not giving us stuff just because we say he's a God that doesn't change his mind and he's not an Indian giver. Doesn't mean he's not going to make you wait for the process. You stepped aside, not him. You moved into his permissive will instead of his perfect will. And so you have to wait that out because you don't know how close you were to the end date because you decided to go another way. So waiting, I'm not going to lie to anybody and tell them I enjoyed waiting.
I didn't.
And
that's
even
why I stayed in trouble.
See? And now, with so much, I mean, anybody that's been in my life can tell you there are so many prophecies that have been spoken that are just lingering. I feel like Daniel, the ceiling's just stuffed with your blessings that just won't fall and give way.
Blessings, nephew.
And I find myself saying, to God, like, what is it that I'm not seeing? I ask him at night before I go to bed. I ask him in the morning after I say good morning. What is it that I'm missing? While I thank you for another day, what is it that I'm missing that's making this process so long? Is it me? Is it something I don't want to see? Or am I out of time?
I think timing, if I can sidebar. Jahai, you still in the hospital? I think timing, nobody wants to wait anymore. Even when you go in the grocery store now, they got microwavable baked macaroni and cheese. Like, come on, y'all doing a lot. Ain't nothing like the home style macaroni and cheese, but nobody want to wait for the preparation. Nobody want to prepare it. Nobody want to do all the extra work that it takes to make it to your liking. So now it's microwavable everything. And I think that's what's wrong with the church. We want everything so fast till we don't want to wait. And God help us if we have to wait and be patient. We are so like all over the place. I just want it now. And we start throwing temper tantrums and all this other stuff when God is going to keep taking us through it until we learn how to wait.
Mighty God.
We have to learn how to wait no matter how long it take. That ain't that's the song the old mothers used to say. I'm gonna wait no matter how long it take.
My
And
Savior.
sometimes waiting can become long. Let him find you working, or let her find you working in the house of God to see. That's yeah, that's
Yeah, yeah, it is obtainable. I'm gonna say, my God, Minister Malik, it is obtainable. And being in the waiting room, I equate it to um, naturally going to an emergency room, and we're sitting in the waiting room, and we have to wait in line sometimes to sign in. Then we got to sit down. Then we got to wait to be triaged. Then we got to sit up. Then sometimes they come and ask us questions, and they determine whether we're going to go in fast track or whether we go on the other side. But all in the midst of that, there are certain things that can be missed. There are certain things that can slow us up. For as having worked in that environment, there are many people who walk up to the kiosk and they don't want to let anybody know they don't know how to read, or they don't know, which alphabet is what, and so it is taking them a long time just to let somebody know I'm here and I need to be seen. And so God helps somebody send your way, and somebody notices, and they go ahead and help you and not make you feel bad about that. And you sit down, and now you got to wait until they call you in the back to triage you. And so now when you get in the triage room, they ask you, the same, they take your temperature, they take your blood pressure, they ask you why you're here, they ask you how long you have had it, because all of this determines where you're going next. And so I say that in that order because that's how it is in our timing or in our wait as we go along this journey. You're coming there and you feel like you're serious.
blessings, Pastor. Blessing, overseer. My fault.
You're waiting and you're saying, okay, all these people sit here in the waiting room. Oh my God, they're never gonna call me. Then you see somebody who came in 5 minutes ago and they call them right away, and you've been sitting there for about an hour and a half. And that's because we have to learn the difference in an urgent versus an emergent.
I didn't want to stop Apostle, but I wanted to throw this in there. Some of us are still waiting because we're not prepared. And that's what came to me as she was talking. What do you mean we're not prepared? Some of us want, and we're mostly talking about relationship and marriage. And some of us are just not prepared. That's why we're still waiting. You don't know how to keep your house together. You don't know how to cook dinner. You don't know how to do the necessity. You can't even pray him out of a wet paper bag if he was in trouble. So the necessities that we need, you got a nasty attitude. Your temper is all over the place. You don't know how to talk to your leader, let's alone a mate. So all of these things is why we still waiting, because it's right there in our face and God can't give it to us because we're not in a position to receive what we're waiting for. And that's what I heard as Apostle was speaking. So it's right there in front of us, but he hasn't released it to us because we don't know how to take care of ourselves. When was the last time you took yourself on a date? When was the last time you went and got in the mirror and talked to yourself? When was the last time you combed your hair? When was the last time you got dressed just because and took yourself out to dinner? So these are things that I had to learn. I had to love me first. I had to tell myself I was beautiful, because we wait to get married for all of this stuff to take place. And then when it don't happen, then we mad. But if we prepare ourselves, if we adorn ourselves right, if we do what we need to do, then maybe it can be released. So God hasn't released it to some of us yet because we are still in our same old thinking way.
Mighty God, today.
Not I combed it today.
And then the young people, they be mad at me. They wish they could say something back to me, but they can't. Because I just don't remember ever a day going outside in my pajama pants as my outfit for the day.
We couldn't do it.
That's what I said. We didn't come up where we were allowed. The way we would have been handled trying to go outside with our pajamas on as an outfit, right, and then with a bonnet. we couldn't. Let me tell you how bad it was for her. I don't know if Apostle have
I'm gonna start
experienced
church.
this.
I'm gonna start a church of the bonnets.
I don't know if Apostle experienced this, in her younger years, but when we used to travel to youth conventions and stuff like that, we couldn't even keep the curlers and stuff in our hair.
No, we had to take
Oh
it
my
out.
gosh.
My pastor would be like, "Where you going with us looking like that?"
You're not getting off this bus, and especially if it was a rest stop. Oh my God. And so it was just so many things, and they said, because what happens, you never know where your opportunity is going to greet you. I even go back some time ago when Apostle and I was working at AC Moore. She working on the register. Her customer ended up getting her a job in the hospital. I mean, you never know where opportunity is going to meet you, and you have to, you have to be in a ready position. She didn't realize why the lady was saying, "What is your name?" or "What can you?" She didn't know, but because of her demeanor and the way she handled her, she gave her a job at the hospital.
She sure did.
You never know where your next is. So you can't be going out here walking around in pajama pants thinking,
what if
your
husband is walking down the street,
baby,
and you dress like that? He gonna be like, "I don't want that, because look at how you dress." I get up in the morning, well, I work anyway, and Apostle say it to me all the time. By 9 o'clock, by 8:45, I'm up, getting in the shower, brushing my teeth, doing whatever I gotta do, and put my clothes on, because it's how you present yourself in the morning. It's how you're going to feel throughout the day. So even though I take care of Apostle and I'm in the house, I don't walk around the house all day in my nightgown or my pajama pants. She would allow me to, but that's not, I'm going to get up and I'm going to treat her as if I'm at a job, because I couldn't go into the hospital in my pajama pants and my do-rag and be comfortable. Thank God she let me take a nap throughout the day. But I'm just saying, we have to show up for the assignment, guys. We got to prepare we got to change our mindset.
Show up like you really want it.
We got to change our mindset in 2025.
Overseer.
We have to change our mindset.
Yes. And so, waiting, while it can become very painful for some, there are those who, people be hoping I don't deal with this aspect, but it is a part of waiting. There are those of us who are in that waiting factor. Thank God I'm not, it's not something I ever had to be freed from, because in counseling folks, it seems to be very difficult. But some of us who cannot handle the weight when it comes to our mate, and we try to please ourselves, which is not of God. But it's not unforeseeable.
Right.
It's just not. It takes a strong will. A strong will, and so waiting can be very painful. Waiting can be very depressing. There are others who cannot handle seeing others with their mates, even with myself, Apostle Wyatt and a couple of others prophesied to me at one point that my mate was on his way. And this has been in the last 10 years, at least. She coming down the road, all right. And at first, I was my own worst enemy, because as quick as they would say it would be as quick as I said, not me, not another one, But then I had to realize I can't say, "God, your will be done," and then at the same time say, "I know that's your will, but no thank you," because in essence that's what I was doing. And so I had to get to a point where I could get my mind and my heart to be at the same place, to be able to really receive what God has for me. But at the same time, the reason why most of me wouldn't let go is because I'm like, at this age and game, for real, like what's the real chance of that? Even though my aunt
got married at 70-something years old.
My aunt got married at 63 years old. But it's just a matter of, okay, God, I don't need another prophecy about it. I just need manifestation. Like, let him show his head. And then the one who did show his head, God helped us stop. Look, counterfeits come before the real thing. That's all I'm saying. And so waiting can be painful. It can be irritating. It can be lonely. It can be depressing. I'm trying to think of some other things that we've counseled. Painful, depressing, lonely, feeling unwanted, low self-esteem, because at this point it gets to be like, why can't I? Am I not good enough? What's wrong with me? Then that sends you into depression, which leads you into suicidal thoughts. It's a whole domino effect after that. And so you have to condition your mind, because the Word lets us know He'll keep us in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on Him. And so we got to understand that if we're expecting something from God, we have to be in a position of expectancy. And what is that position of expectancy? For everybody is different. Everybody is not the same. God created us unique. And so each of us has something that we have to go through in order to receive the fullness of what has been promised to us.
You know what I realized too? When we stop looking, it'll come. We get up every day. Lord, is this the day? Lord, is this the morning he gonna find me? She gonna find me? Is this the day they gonna text me? Is this the day I'm gonna be sitting in church on Sunday looking my best and he gonna find me? Stop looking for it. First of all, the Bible said he that finds a wife. So you shouldn't be looking. That's the problem. You shouldn't be looking. When I was going through my little phase or whatever, I don't know what it was I was going through. And I was on that website and the apostle said, you out of order because he's supposed to find you. So if I'm putting all my information on that website and I'm lurking and I'm looking, he ain't finding me. That's why it ain't working. I done found him. No, we got it twisted. It's backwards. So we need to wait on God, no matter how long it takes. And it's what my old mother used to say, no matter how long it takes. Okay, yeah. We got to wait on God. So I want to encourage you while you're waiting. My t-shirt line says, don't die while you wait. We can't afford to die while we're waiting. If God has made you a promise, no matter what it is, whether it's marriage, whether it's ministry, whether it's finances, whatever it is, in 2025, we cannot afford to die while we wait. We just can't.
So, hey, overseer, apostle overseer.
Who?
That's
the apostle. That's the apostle.
So yes, waiting can sit you in a place of irritability wherein it comes out at others without you even realizing it. And not everybody's going to take the time to find out exactly why you're where you are. They will accept the offense and then keep on and hold that offense. But I just believe that when we who say that we are God's children, we have to, in spite of ourselves, we have to hold on to what we're teaching others. You know, it's back in the day what they say, do as I say, not as I do. That doesn't work. That doesn't work when it comes to what you're expecting from God. I'm not talking about secular now. I'm not talking naturally. But now I'm talking spiritually. You're wanting something from God and you're not presenting yourself in a place where you could, hey, Pastor DeVette, where you could get what God has for you. Sometimes we are the reason why we don't have. There are times when others are the reason why, because you know, sometimes we look to people before we look to God. And so then God removes the people who you think are higher than him, you know, trying to make provisions when he's already made a promise. You know, haven't you learned from the two women in the Bible who were getting ready to have to split a child in order for them to recognize, you know, it's just so many things that we're willing to do to get what we want.
Pastor DeVette, what happened to you coming on keeping my days together? I have not seen you. I have not seen you on prayer. She was so nice. She sent me a text separately. I appreciate you. She was like, Apostle, you got your days confused. I love you, Pastor DeVette. It's good to see you tonight.
Yes, we're doing 21 days of prayer with Apostle Wyatt as the leader of it. And God has been blessing and God has been manifesting and God has been allowing change to show up in the lives of those who are participating, who are taking this thing seriously. This is not a beginning of the year resolution and all of that stuff that we normally do. we've gotten so programmed and so in tuned that we know that come January we got to do this. So this time we decided to do things a little bit differently, and I'm grateful to her for leading us through the way God has given it unto her, and it has been a blessing. The teachings that go along with it, and God has just been blessing us, and so doing things differently sometimes brings about a better result.
Right.
And so nothing is programmed, nothing is traditional. This year it was done totally different, and people have been used that weren't expected to be used. And so we're just grateful to how God is making it turn around for
Aw.
us.
We're going to keep you in prayer. Her husband is
Oh.
busy.
And so waiting, God, when are you going to do this? That's the famous question. When, God? So are you saying when, God, or God, when? Because don't go to God like you a beast. Like, why are you keeping me waiting this long? You want to go to him meek. You want to go to him humble. You want to go to him in a repenting type of way. Never go to him and not realize that you could have sinned. We always ask God to forgive us of the sins of omission or sins of commission. And I say it in the morning and I say it before I go to bed, because the morning covered what happened the day before. The evening covers what happened throughout the day.
Right.
And I don't ever want to be so busy asking God for something that I fail to repent of anything I may have done. The Bible does say we all have sinned and come short of the glory and honor of God.
Mm-hmm.
I also tell people all the time, if I'm looking at you and you're looking at me, we both got something we got to deal with, because God's not going to leave us down here in an imperfect world in a perfect state. He's going to take us while we're in that perfect state. So, that's really it. I don't want to stay on too long tonight. Oh, yeah, I want to stay on too long tonight. Thank you for those of you who constantly come on and conversate with us and come and hear what we have to say and give your input and help us encourage those who are around us. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Again, EIT Tanasia, thank you for your transparency as coming on as our special guest last week and allowing us to ask you various questions, and you not mind being transparent with those who were viewing us and how they had an opportunity to ask you questions. And so I'm grateful. We always leave our lives open on Wednesday nights if you want to be a guest where our people can ask you questions and you can respond to them. Let's see what Tanasia's saying. I think I watched a movie with Auntie about that. The man was waking up every morning waiting for God to tell him if this person was it. And when he went to church, every church girl he met, the Lord said no. And once he ran into a prostitute, and the Lord finally said yes. And the marriage was tested. And are you talking about Hosea? You're talking about Hosea. He was God commanded him to marry that prostitute. Hosea was like, seriously? God said, that's her. You're going to take her to be your wife. I don't know. I laugh about it every now and then with my close circle, and I'll be like, I don't know if I would want somebody that I knew everybody that had her, but sometimes God uses the craziest things to prove a point. And just the fact that Hosea, even though he wasn't sure why he had to be the one, he still followed God's plan and did what God told him to do. And so ultimately, we're waiting for God's response to be positive. And it might be something we don't want to do at all, and so are we really willing to do exactly what God calls us to do when that time comes? And so we all have that time coming. None of us who are truly God's own right now could say that there wasn't a time when they had a question, so we all live and we learn. But what we have to remember is that we had to live and learn, and we have to give that same grace to other people. Maybe it might not it might not have taken you, as long as it's taking them. But the fact of the matter is you made it through, so can they. And so we love you. Did you want to say anything else to the people?
No, just don't die while you wait. I appreciate the conversation. to encourage everyone to keep on holding on and trust God, and don't be that microwavable saint. Want
Lord
something
God.
so quickly and so fast till we miss what God is really saying. So hold on, be encouraged. I am not telling you nothing that I didn't have to do. I had to do it for 5 years straight, kicking and screaming. Didn't want to listen because my flesh was in the way, but God still covered me. And so I want you to be encouraged tonight. We are celebrating my bestie this weekend, guys. Woo! Her birthday is Sunday. I'm so excited. And so pray for us. We'll be in service all weekend. If you're in the Newark area, come out and have church with us. Join us one of those nights. Newark and the surrounding areas. Come out and join us one of those nights, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We will be concluding, amen, with her birthday celebration. I'm excited, as always. I think I'd be more excited for her than she'd be for her. But follow us on Facebook. We'll be live as well if you can't make it. We love you all and have a good night.
Love you all. See you next week. Again, thank you for always meeting us here.